This lecture is intended to serve as a brief introduction to gamification methods as they apply to educational environments. The video will be divided into two sections, one covering the basics of gamification mechanics, and one dedicated to several notable examples of successful gamification in STEM education. By the end of this lecture, you should walk away with a better framework for considering game design methods as they apply in the classroom. Portions of this lesson will reference the readings included with the lecture. It is recommended that these papers be read before continuing with this video. First coined in 2008, the term gamification refers broadly to the application of game design ideology to everyday contexts in the interest of increasing engagement in the activity through a more play-oriented structure. Although a relatively new concept, gamification has already been studied and applied across a spectrum of contexts like business, education, personal fitness, and even household chores. In education, implementing game-like structures into coursework and class structure have been shown to yield largely positive effects on engagement, attendance, class participation, and other learning factors. Although we are all familiar with games and we likely have a general idea of what is meant by the term game, let's revisit the definition to ensure that we are working with the same basic principle. In short, a game can be defined as a physical or mental activity or contest that has rules and that people do for pleasure. Unfortunately, gamification is a bit harder to define as a singular idea. Gamification is often described in industry as the adoption of game technology and game design methods outside of the games industry, or, more actively, the process of using game thinking and game mechanics to solve problems and engage users. For our purposes, the definition proposed by Sebastian Dieterding et al. In their 2011 paper defining gamification is more appropriate. Gamification is the use of design elements characteristic for games in non-game contexts. Some of these key game elements include narrative context, immediate feedback, rankings, reputation, and levels, simulated markets and economies, competition under closely enforced rules, and time pressure. Like gamification itself, the exact meaning of game mechanics can be unclear across different contexts. A quick Google search will likely result in 5 or 6 slightly different definitions within the first page of results. However, there is a common theme among them that game mechanics encompass and guide the rules of action of players within the game environment. So, for our purposes, game mechanics can be defined as constructs of rules or methods designed for interaction with the game state. In a video game, mechanics can be as simple as a limited jumping height that requires you to find other ways around or over taller obstacles, or as complicated as how your character's attack power is calculated against a variety of enemy types. Board games use systems of mechanics as well. For a common example, think about a chessboard. What are some of the mechanics of a typical game of chess? Systems of mechanics work similarly in educational settings. For example, if a gamified learning structure involved a system by which students complete assignments to earn points which can be used to advance through levels of difficulty that correspond with higher grades in the course, the structure could be said to be utilizing a leveling system. Mechanics within this system would include what players need to do to increase their level, i.e. how they earn experience, as well as what level must be reached for a satisfactory grade, say a C or above, and what sorts of rewards or bonuses can be expected each time the players level up, like access to new resources or increasingly open-ended assignment options. While specific mechanics will differ depending on the systems being implemented, there are several systems that see common use among many gamified classrooms. Leveling, which is often used in lieu of the traditional grade average. Rather than having to maintain a high average over the course of the entire class, students start from 0 and complete coursework and related tasks to earn points that gradually increase their grade. Leaderboards, which are used to rank students based on experience, overall task completion, or some other numerical metric. Leaderboards are a good way to promote constructive competition among students, as well as provide students with real-time feedback about their standing in the class. Challenges and quests, which are used as replacements for traditional assignments. Challenges often differ from traditional assignments in that several of them can be offered at once, allowing students an element of choice in how they engage with the course material. For example, challenges may be presented at a variety of experience point reward levels to represent higher difficulty, so that students who take on the most complicated challenges have the potential to gain more levels with fewer assignments. Badges and achievements, which are special tasks that students can perform for extra experience or additional benefits, such as helpful resources or tools that may help them with later tasks or increase their ranking on the leaderboards. These are just a few examples of systems and mechanics that can be implemented in the classroom. Exactly which systems are used and how they are implemented will vary between courses, but the underlying idea is that good gamified systems encourage student engagement through consistent rule sets, clear goals and criteria for success, and appropriately challenging tasks for each stage of student experience. Well-structured mechanics should help promote a state of optimal flow, as detailed by Chen in his 2007 paper Flow in Games. The next section of the video will cover 3 notable examples of gamified learning. One using a video game as a tool for teaching programming in C, one using an online gamification framework for tracking student performance, and one using simple offline tools to gamify grades and assignments in a high school biology course. In 2013, Li, Chen, and Li performed a study that implemented a game-like learning system called Train BNP into a course on programming with the C language. Train BNP was a gamified software that consisted of a physics-enabled train and railway track model that students could manipulate using lines of code. Railway pieces are placed in the virtual environment using the graphical interface, and then specific instructions for navigating the track are given to the train using the command line. Results of students who completed the project using the Train BNP software were compared to a traditional lecture version of the same course, and it was found that motivation levels of the students who used the gamified software were higher across the board. Additionally, the perceived level of challenge was more comfortable for students of all levels of background knowledge, suggesting that game-like systems are an effective way to control challenge for students of varying background. In 2013, Gabriel Barata and his team used an online gamification system called Moodle to apply game design structures to a graduate-level multimedia content production course. The course was primarily gamified through the use of leaderboards, experience points, and achievement systems. When compared to a version of the course taught through traditional lecture, their results from the gamified course showed a significant increase in engagement, participation, and attendance. The effect on grades and student performance remained unclear, but the study still showed that the gamified class was generally regarded as significantly more engaging. In 2015, Barata et al. Published another paper after having a chance to run the course again for another year. The course itself yielded results similar to the year before, and an analysis algorithm was developed to cluster the students into performance groups based on their experience acquisition over time. The clustering algorithm found 3 groups common to both years, labeled achievers, underachievers, and disheartened students. Based on average leaderboard position per day, achievers exhibited high performance over the duration of the course, while underachievers remained in the lower positions. Disheartened students displayed similar behavior to the achiever cluster toward the beginning of the semester, but gradually dropped into the middle rankings after the first few weeks. In the second year, the larger class size yielded a 4th group, labeled Late Awakeners, that began the semester in lower leaderboard positions, but then gradually rose to positions between the achievers and disheartened students after the first several weeks. Although this indicates that their gamified methods were not a perfect fit for all students, it does show that the choice in the curriculum allows for a variety of different student behaviors. Barata and his group suggest that with a bit more adaptability in the course structure and additional help for underachievers and disheartened students, the gamified structure should help increase engagement across the board. While gamification methods are often supplemented with electronic tools and frameworks, there are situations that call for a more low-tech approach. In his 2011 book, The Multiplayer Classroom, Lee Sheldon offers the example of Denisha Buchanan's biology class at Mark Tree High School. Denisha introduced an RPG-style game structure called Biology Quest into her classroom. Not unlike other gamification strategies, students are graded using an experience system in which they start with a score of 0 and work their way up through higher grades. Assignments are delivered as quests that award different amounts of experience, allowing students to choose how they earn their grades. Once students have exhausted the options with which they are most comfortable, progressing to the next level often challenges them to participate in activities that lie outside of their learning style comfort zones. By December of the first year of implementing the biology quest structure, 98% of the sophomores taking the course were passing with a D or higher, up from the previous year's 62%. On top of that, the percentage of students passing with an A or B jumped from 10% to 36%. The impact of this questing system is hard to ignore in light of such noticeable changes in just the first year of using the teaching style. This concludes our overview of gamified learning. For further reading on the subject, please feel free to investigate the following resources.